Hi guys, my name is Troy and Merry Christmas. I hope you're having a great day with your family and friends. And I wanted to make a quick video because 2026 is just around the corner and you may be thinking to start your snake keeping hobby next year. And this is 5 huge mistakes that new snake keepers make and how to avoid them or fix them. Let's get into it. At number one, we have wrong temperature and humidity levels. And I know most new snake keepers tend to set up pretty looking enclosures without thinking about how that's gonna affect the snake health. Don't forget that snakes depend on temperature and humidity levels. If it's too hot, they may run into scale burning, and if it's too cold, they may run into respiratory infections. And those two things are really two things you don't really want to run into, especially as a first time snake keeper, because you will have to go to the vet with your snake a few times around. Your wallet will be really upset with you, and you will get frustrated, especially if you're just starting the hobby. One of the ways to avoid this mistake is to use a thermostat on the heat source. Set it up on the warm side standard temperature that your snake breed requires, and you have to use a digital thermometer and hygrometer to double check that the temperature stays at that level at all time and the humidity stays at that level at all time. Do not use analog hygrometers. I used to have a couple of those, the ones that look like a clock. They don't really work if not to check a humidity level on the wall that they are attached to, but they won't be checking the ambient humidity level or temperature. So please do use a digital one. And number two, we have oversized closures too soon. Let's say you're buying a snake for the first time and he's a juvenile snake, and you're gonna get a 4x2x2 thinking that it's gonna have plenty of space to run marathons around it. And that's probably true. There is plenty of space. The only problem is snakes, especially juvenile snakes, they tend to hide a lot. They like to feel cozy, safe, secure. So don't just go for a massive enclosure right away. You can use plastic tub. I did use that when my snakes were juvenile. You can use smaller glass enclosures. Don't just go for an adult size snake enclosure unless you are gonna pack it with hides. But just so you know, if you have a massive enclosure for a very tiny snake and the enclosure is gonna be packed with hides, you will barely see your snake. Your snake will barely get to the water bowl anyway because the space is too much. They don't like really to be exposed as much when they are young. So just go for the right size enclosures for them to have a space to explore, but also a lot of safe space too, and feeling safe while exploring. At number three, we have handling too soon. And I know I'm the first one falling for that trap. The snake comes in, you do the unboxing, you open up, the snake looks beautiful, looks very healthy. All you want to do is to play around with them. You feel just as good as you felt this morning opening your Christmas gift. However, snakes are not toys. So feel free to handle them for the first few minutes, see if they are friendly or not, if they are feisty. But then they need to be in the enclosure for about a week to get used to their new environment, the new noises they hear, new odors that they can smell, and so on and so on. Eventually, feed them first, and after a few days, you can try and pick them up for longer time. If you handle a snake too soon for too long, they may get stressed, and stress leads to food strike very often, especially if they are young, and you don't really want to get into that with a juvenile snake. Now, for ball python, that can be okay, a food strike here and there, but when they are juvenile, they really need to get on food because they need to grow up. At number four, we have feeding wrong sizes or feeding too often, also known as overfeeding. Now, a general rule is that the prey size should be as thick as your snake's thickest part of the body. And you should feed on average a juvenile snake once every 5 to 7 days. However, do double check the needs of your specific species. And I'm saying this because I know that beginner snake keepers tend to overfeed their new snakes because they can't wait for them to grow up and get bigger meal, because it is fascinating to watch a snake have food and it is super cool to watch your pet grow. And number 5, we have trusting pet shops way too much. Now, thankfully, not all pet shops are bad, and actually, the majority of them are good, really good pet shops. However, some of them do give really outdated advices or they keep animals in very poor conditions. And if a snake is kept in very poor conditions, it may come with mites or parasite, and the first thing you want to do when you get your first pet snake home is to put it in the enclosure and enjoy it. You don't just want to go through a whole quarantine routine and then medication and then start enjoying it. Just bear in mind, when a snake gets sick for either mites, parasites, or respiratory infection or anything else, for snakes the road to recovery is pretty long very often. And it's not something you really want to start on day one of owning your first pet snake. So when you walk into a pet shop, have a look around, see the conditions in which they are keeping their animals, you ask for advice, and then cross reference it with a more modern snake care guide. Because, as I said before, some of their advices can be outdated. There has been a lot more research. The snake keeping hobby has been growing huge, and people know more about snakes today than they did 25, 30 years ago. One of the ways to avoid this mistake, and to avoid probably all the other ones too, is to check snake care guides. I do have a few on my channel. There is a playlist over here. But if is there anything I haven't done yet, check other YouTubers too. The internet is full of good information. Just, do your fact checking, because there is also a lot of misinformation. There you have it, guys. This was the 5 most common mistakes that first time snake keepers make, and I hope it was helpful to you. And if it was, please click the like button. And if you have owned snakes before and you made different kind of mistakes, please write them in the comments below, because we should all help each other in this hobby. Other than that, I hope you're having a very good Christmas day. I hope your snakes are doing well. I hope you are doing well. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye!